This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo from Thursday, June 18th, 2015, a bad day for America. And as I would add, a mass murderer. Now, we all know what happened, and I don't want to get into all of the things. I just want to bring in what Billy said a little bit and then what he really meant about the whole thing. Now, Billy indicated that this guy was a longtime racist. He's 21 years old. How long has he been a racist? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? I don't really know. He had black friends. Black guy thought he was a good guy. He did have was making some racial comments that were, let's just say, inappropriate. But obviously, he had something going on in reference to that. We'll find more about that later on. I'd like to know how he got the gun. I'd like to know where he was getting his information from, because hate, when that kid was 20 years ago, when that kid was 1 or 2, there wasn't any hate in that kid at all. That hate was learned at some point in time. And, we'll find out. Now, Billy did say 1 or 2 things that I thought were extremely good. He did call it an act of terror. And he did say that it was a result of the color of the people's skins. So he wasn't backing away like some of the presidential candidates were indicating that it was an assault on religious liberty, which was, no, that's not at all, And, then he goes on and has a couple speakers. So he has Obama, he has Loretta Lynch, who is the head of the Justice Department, Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, and he also has Graham, the senator from South Carolina, talking about how bad all this stuff is. Now, the one thing that President Obama said is that, there's a lot of frequency with this in his term. And around the world, you don't have those types of victim. You don't have that type of mass murderer. Now, Billy says, oh, yes, you do. Oh, yes, you do. But now there was that one in Sweden or Norway or something like that. You don't hear about it in a lot of other places. Billy says it doesn't make any difference if they have guns or not. There's mass murders, etc. And he indicates that the pathology of that is something that cannot be stopped. Now, and of course, he's doing a book on Hinckley right now, who shot President Reagan, which would have been 33 years ago or something like that. He was declared insane. He's still at a place in D.C. called St. Elizabeth's. He's been there for quite some time. Every couple of years, he tries to get out. His parents had a lot of money. And he shot Reagan because he wanted to have a relationship with Jodie Foster. Now, sick guy, yeah, and of course, but we have so many instances where the kid who shot everyone up in New Hampshire, a very sick individual. The guy in Aurora, Colorado, sick. The Virginia Tech shooter, very sick person. So we'll find out that this guy is a very sick person. But he did do something terrible. He will have to pay the price, hopefully, maybe the ultimate price. But the point is that how did that guy get the gun? And that's what President Obama was indicating, is that this guy had a gun, and the ability to do something like that, and the ability to hurt many people dramatically increases when you have a gun. If you had a knife, if you had a machete, something like that, obviously if you had a machete, you swing a couple times, you get tired. He may have hurt some people, but it would not have been as much as with a gun. A gun, obviously, is something that is terror, it strikes immediate terror, and we know now that the guy shot people multiple times. Now, the thing about Billy, and the thing I want to make that's most important about this, is that he has a tirade at the end about how nothing can stop this type of pathology. Nothing in the world can stop it. And anyone who thinks that you can stop this type of an individual is just absolutely crazy. And he's indicating very clearly that Obama is crazy for thinking that this type of pathology, as Billy would call it, can be stopped. And of course, my question is, how many people would have been murdered if those people were not able to get their hands on guns? And and of course, guess what? We know we all live in an imperfect world. We all have a tremendous amount of imperfections. Is having further gun registration going to stop the next mass murder? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But we should be trying. We should be able to identify people who will do harm on other people. and prevent them from acquiring those types of guns. Now, Billy will say, oh, but any type, he starts talking about what's going on in Chicago. And of course, he only talks about what's going on in Chicago, not the fact that the guns are being run from states, I think Georgia's the big one, where all the guns are coming up from all these different gun shops. And that's where they're coming from. The guns aren't coming from inside Chicago where they're legitimately bought. And of course, you can do something about that. There are things that can be done to prevent that type of thing. But we haven't initiated the laws because we don't have the will to do it. Now, the last time this happened in New Hampshire, I believe it was New Hampshire, Connecticut, where 26 kids were killed and a number of adults, altogether 26. The 90% of the American people were behind it. But Congress, it wasn't President Obama, it was Congress, failed to enact those types of things. And would it have prevented this one? I do not know. But the thing is, we need to try to make the effort. Now, is this going to stop anyone from legitimately owning a gun? No. But again, we have to try to do this. That's something that Billy and his side, his ilk, are unwilling to do.